very good evening to you all, and welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Friday late night. And I've got, of course, the co-host with me, Mr. Khan. Now, some of you will work this out straight away. It took me a couple of seconds. Well, why would Nigel have 19? Well, come on, be fair. Why would Nigel have 1923 on as his title? So I'm sure some of you will probably know that. Are you well, Nigel? How's things?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Yeah.
Trundling along. Obviously, after an upturn in confidence. No, I don't know about upturn in confidence. Definitely an upturn in performances. Possibly the best 10 minutes I've witnessed in the London Stadium ever.
What, last night?
Last night. Couldn't imagine
better than Seville and
yeah, but it's a 10-minute period.
Okay.
Try and think of a better 10-minute period in that stadium.
Mate, there's been so many 10-minute periods where we've sort of shaken our heads that
yeah. So I quite, even now, I still don't know where that came from.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think it turned? Well, we're on that. So don't you think it turned when we scored our equaliser, or do you reckon? Because we started off well. We actually started off well, and then they got the goal, which kind of dented us. And it wasn't so much against the run of play, but I thought we started off okay.
No, we started off on the front foot. The only thing I would say is that they had the clearest cut chance before the goal. So before they scored their first goal, they had a header that was put wide. There was two of them waiting to head the ball, and very wasteful of them, because I thought, well, they're not going to get many chances. Then lo and behold, I don't know if we got too carried away with attacking, but we got caught out on a sucker punch. And well, was it Paquetá when it gave the ball away?
Yeah, and it's interesting because he got absolutely slated by a lot of the fan base for giving the ball away. Obviously, well before half time, but people were talking about Paquetá as if like, yeah, here we go, we've got the dud Brazilian, etc., etc. But I thought in all, he was one of the players that turned that game round, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward, if you can, that far ahead to the Paquetá next season. I think you can see a player who's growing into English football with every game.
Agreed.
Getting better and better, and perhaps it could be that there is a replacement for Declan Rice, and it may be, we could quickly cover it, that a future without Declan Rice in the team could lead to a different way of West Ham playing.
Yeah.
We don't need to replace him with a defensive, defensive midfielder after yesterday. Rice, he's not known for his box-to-box ability, is he?
Not until last night. No.
Not until last night, no. And you can hear yourself going, and he don't really get many goals either, does he? But then again, and and sometimes you do wonder where is that in his locker.
Do you think? I mean, all right, we've started talking about this. I mean, we're going to cover a few things, but I sort of put in the title: "Has the tide, has the tide turned?" or whatever it was I said. Are we hitting form at the right time? Is it because players are now beginning to find their feet, the new players and the old players mixing, or has everybody just picked up the pace for some? It's because it's been. You look at this calendar year. We've had two bad defeats. We've had the 4-0 and the 5-1. But other than that, we've ground out results, haven't we? And that gives you, when you win games and draw and when you don't lose, it gives you confidence, doesn't it? So, and off the back of the Arsenal game the other day, maybe the players are just beginning to relax a little bit more, getting to know each other better. When Moyes said at the beginning of the season, it takes time for players to settle in. People were like, "Come on, for God's sake," and I got to that.
Look, I've said that. The thing is, I have said that. Those that listen to podcasts, I have said this for years. When you get a player especially like a foreign player coming into the Premier League, it can take them. You know, listen, don't get me wrong. Some will walk in and be a star straight away. Some will need to get to grips with the pace and the way it's played. And some can take a couple of months. Some may take a full season. You know,
Yeah,
Winston Reid in his first season, you know, we ended up going down, Avram gone. He was played at right back. Whether that was his right position or not, I don't know. You know, he looked like a fish out of water, didn't he?
he did. Yeah, yeah,
Then what happens? Maybe the year in the Championship done Winston Reid a favour, but he becomes a centre half, and he becomes a stalwart and a player that for 8 years, or in injury when he was injury free, was the bedrock of our defence. You know, I can point to like, you know, you look at players like Shevchenko, you look at players like Juan Sebastian Veron, world class players that are turned up in top
and
teams in the Premier League,
yeah, didn't
couldn't
do it.
do it.
Who was the player? Who was the Arsenal striker, the Dutch Arsenal striker that took virtually a whole season to score a goal?
Um, not
His name's
Overmars,
gone, completely gone.
not
But he was the Dutch striker. Everyone was saying he was shit. He was shit. I think it was around the mid 80s or whatever. And then all of a sudden he scored a goal and he clicked and he just, became one of the best strikers in the Premier League. And it does take time. Sometimes it does take time. Players do have to find their feet in their own way, don't they?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, everybody acknowledges that the Premier League is a fast league and it's played at a different pace to the continental football, as they call it. So it is, you know, players, and if you look at the amount of players we're bringing in, you know, Skamakas, Paquetá, Agerd, you know, they've come from Italian, French football. And we're expecting them to just be superstars straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
And you know, it don't happen that way. It don't.
The big question is obviously, Nigel, like many people will say if it was a different manager, he'd have got a tune out of them already by now. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because I mean, I've been you know what I've been like with Moyes up until recently. Even I started to say maybe it's time for him to go, but I kind of tried to give him the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of the season, and as it wasn't working, it was taking time and time. Would another manager have gotten a tune out of this lot quicker,
Well,
or it's just
I
an
mean,
unknown?
that's an hypothetical question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, what caliber of manager are we talking about? To be fair, it's an unanswerable question. Would another manager, you know, what would a Brendan Rodgers do with that team?
yeah.
He could make it better. We don't know, but you know, why did things go wrong for him at Leicester? Well, lack of money, lack of investment. You know, the owners saying, well, we got to, you know, we bankrolled the club to the Premier League and the FA Cup, and now we've got to cut our cloth accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And he's paid the harshest of penalties in my book, but it don't look good for them. And yet people are saying, well, let's replace Moyes with Rodgers. I know I'm not anti-Rodgers, but I find it funny that the people complaining about West Ham are down the bottom and then picking out managers that have been sacked because their teams are down the bottom. But I mean, in regards to Moyes, if he doesn't win a trophy, and this is the thing, I'm not hanging everything on it. If he wins that trophy, I do find it hard to think you could sack the man.
Mm.
And there's a very few. I get it about the style of football, but that is something that can come and go, as we've seen. But for a bloke to win a trophy at West Ham, to then qualify for Europe for the third season running, which no manager's ever achieved.
Yeah.
It was funny. I don't know if it was on the radio. I heard someone go, "Well, I think it was David Moyes going, well, when was the last time West Ham was ever in two semi-finals, 2 years running, European Cup?" Well, it was 1965 and 1966, Dave. 65 we won it. 66 we got lost to Dortmund in the semi-final as holders. So we have done that before, Dave.
But
yeah, if you want to go on and make, and that's the thing, if he wants to go on and make history, he ain't done that. I would argue he hasn't made history yet. To make history is to win the trophy, and therefore, but by winning a European trophy, that doesn't make him history because Ron Greenwood done it in 65. But where he does make history, where he stands alone, is the first manager to take West Ham into Europe off his own back 3 years running.
yeah,
Now that you can't argue with.
what's it? Well, you know, the fan base is really divided. I think there's a number of fans. You know, they won't care what happens at the end of the season, even if we win the trophy.
Yeah,
you know, get back into Europe for the third season. There will be fans out there that will turn around and go, "I don't care, want him gone."
Yeah,
you know, this is really. I mean, it really has divided the fan base, hasn't it? So my head's going from one to the other at the moment. At the beginning of the season, it was like give him a chance. Then it got to the point where it was like, well, it looks like he ain't going to change it. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. And then all of a sudden, we've had this, you know, the last few games, etc. We put in performances where we ground out a win. We put in a good performance against Arsenal. We did what we did against Gent. I mean, are we hitting form at the right time? Are we all of a sudden beginning to look up rather than sort of like, because big game on Sunday, you know, we've got to get something out of that.
I mean, to answer, are we in form at the right time? What we got? 1 defeat in 4,
something like that. Yeah.
I would also I'm pretty sure I'm right. Only 1 home defeat since January the 1st, which was the Newcastle game.
We've had 2 defeats this calendar year.
Well, home.
Oh, at home. Sorry, no.
That's what I'm saying. So at home, only the Newcastle defeat, which actually, I would argue you can't blame Moyes for when you know all 5 goals,
all errors,
actually point as being errors. Though the 5th goal, Paquetá did lose the ball again, but he did lose it on the edge of the, you know, we were on the edge of the opposition area. So you would think that with 90 yards between where he lost the ball or 80 yards between where he lost the ball and the goal, that somebody could have done something. But then again, that would have only stopped the 5th goal, wouldn't it? It's like the people that blame Fabianski for his goal. Well, you know, we were 3-1 down already. So actually, the 4th goal, the killer goal, unfortunately, was a Gerds mistake, which made it 3-1.
Yeah, dead on beginning of the second
half. So, not that I was bothered. I was watching only Fools and Horses at the time.
What?
How come? Well, I went to watch it in the theatre. Yeah. So it was, you know, this is all, I'd been delayed for like 7 months, and then it's not my fault. The bleeding Premier League decided to move our game to that night. I definitely weren't missing Fools and Horses for that.
Quick answer to Matt's question. Matt, the tickets are on sale already. It will take a little bit, a week or so, I think, before it goes down to Claret members and general.
Got till Wednesday. So the season ticket holders have got till Wednesday. I think 5 p.m. Wednesday to buy our usual seat. I will definitely be doing that. Because I didn't get my usual seat. And there's nothing worse than sitting 2 seats behind your usual seat and watching someone else sitting
loving
there
it where you normally are.
And you're thinking, well, he was loving it. He's a fucking idiot. But, you know, and you're thinking, that's my seat. That's got my sticker on it. Yeah. What must they look walking along? Must they have got a Brady out stick? I've got a sticker on my seat. It says Brady out. So, you know, I wanted to throw the geezer out, but you know, I say ho.
So Europe. I mean, I know someone just said they're third in the league or fourth in the league or
Fourth in
whatever
the
they
league.
are at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, they're a bit of a way behind. Is it Feyenoord who are in ahead? They're
Yeah.
quite by a distance, but they're playing for a Europa League place at the moment, aren't they? But they're going to want to win this trophy as much as we are.
Well, I think there was a thing that come out today that if AZ Alkmaar win this trophy, then the Dutch get awarded another Champions League spot.
Oh, okay.
At the expense of the French.
Oh.
So L'Equipe newspaper actually threw its weight behind West Ham today in our bid, because obviously L'Equipe are drumming up the French to come and support West Ham.
Incredible. Well, they ain't got a team in it anymore. They need.
But they need us. So because if Alkmaar win the trophy, coefficient point wise, the Dutch jump above the French,
Well, I
lose
didn't know
one
that.
of their Champions League spots, and it gets given to the Dutch.
All right. I mean, thoughts, Nigel. I don't want to sort of jump the gun, but I said to you just before we came on.
It's what would you the thing again? We're at home first. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing I would look at it is that this ain't Frankfurt. Yeah, Frankfurt. We looked at Frankfurt last season. If you remember, they were sitting 10th, 11th in the league.
Yeah,
but
they
had
doing
literally
well.
thrown the towel in the league,
Yeah,
and were playing their best players in Europe. You know, and it paid off for them, because at the end of the day, they got and just to show how good Frankfurt were, they got out the group stages of the Champions League and made the knockout stages.
Yeah,
They weren't mugs. I think they're sitting 5th in the Bundesliga again this season. So you can see, you know, how they concentrated on that cup. You know what we got? We got a couple of games. We got if we could pick up 5 or 6 points before, it'd be fantastic to be going into that
well,
game.
we got Bournemouth on Sunday, then we got Liverpool on Wednesday, and then Palace next Saturday.
So Bournemouth, you know, if you could get 4 points out of those 3 games, I'd like 6 before we go back into Europe. You know, it takes more pressure off. Let's play. I mean, he played a strong team last night.
He did.
And you know,
he did.
It did show. It did show. So, you know, what's more important for me? The trophy.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So,
but people have criticised that before, where they, you know, where you put the trophy over the league, and people have said, how can you want to get, or not want to get relegated, but how could you want the league over a trophy? But I get you. I mean, it's like what you've said before quite a few times. You know, the trophy you're always going to remember. You know,
look, if Leicester go down, so in the time that they've come up, they've been up. How long they've been up? About 7, 8 seasons. You know, they've won the Premier League and won the FA Cup. Now there'll be a championship team that'll never be taken away from them. That they will always have those memories forever, even if they slide and get stuck in the championship without coming out for the next few years. Because as we can see, it can be difficult to get out of that league now.
Yeah.
Then, you know, so for me as a football fan, it's all about lifting trophies. You know, league is bread and butter. Yes. Do I want to be in the Premier League? Of course I do. You know, I'm not going to lie.
People misunderstand that when you said before, you know, I take the trophy. It's as if you couldn't be bothered about the league. I mean, it is important,
the thing with that is, and what I'd argue is I don't know. Everybody's got their own place where they sit, innit? Me, I'm a match-going fan. Now, do I want to watch, you know, the best players in some of the best players in the world play West Ham? Yes, I do. But when generally they're doing it they're beating us, they're kicking, So it's fantastic to see them. When I list the best players in the world that I've seen play, they've been against West Ham, and their teams have been coming out on top. Does relegation affect my match going habit? Well, no, it don't.
Because you're going to go and watch West
Because
Ham
I'm going to
regardless.
go and watch it, and if they went down, I hold my hands up. I've said it before. I'm what they call a mug punter, because it don't matter what goes on. So if that don't matter, if it don't affect my habit, why should I care who we're playing? Because all I'm bothered about is watching West Ham play, whoever the opposition are, be it Rochdale, be it Rotherham, be it Manchester City.
Mm-hmm.
So
football.
Yes, therefore, for me, the important thing is West Ham United, the football club, playing football.
Yeah.
Not what league it's in, the continuation of the club. Now, you could argue not being in the Premier League, though. Yeah. But what I would say to the people, like the Chicken Littles, the sky will not fall in. The club will still exist to whatever point. Now, at the end of the day, this ain't the club I fell in love with, because that got took away in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm not bothered about Premier League football. But I tell you what, all day long, give me that trophy, because it's about when people go to these players, the Kufals and whatever, tell me about the day you stayed up with West Ham. And they go, I tell you what, I got a better day in Prague.
Yeah, it's true. And you saw the way he went over. He came over to the Bobby Moore Lower last night, and he climbed over the barriers to give someone in particular his shirt.
Yeah.
He loves playing for West Ham.
Yeah.
And he's the sort of player that's going to he will be sitting there when he's old, with his grandkids, etc. And he'll be telling them about the day he played in the final for West Ham United, wouldn't he? I mean, he will.
Yeah, and he's a player who's took a lot of stick. Yeah, he comes in, does really well, looks fantastic, with no fans in the ground. Cheap shot, people. Cheap shot.
Cheap shot.
Dear, oh dear. Did he really say that out loud? Yes, I did. But anyway, and he then takes a lot of flack. But you could argue, right? He wasn't at his best, but a lot of people ain't been playing at his best. I suppose luckily for him, Souček's been copping it worse.
Well, here's a quiz that will a quiz question that will be asked in years to come.
Yeah.
When did Thomas Souček captain West Ham United?
Yes. Well,
wasn't it
weren't for long.
I know. Wasn't it interesting that Declan? I think he was going to give it to Oggy, but Oggy said, "I'm going off in a minute anyway." So he deliberately went over and he gave the. Do you think that's like a gesture from Declan to say, this is my teammate. He's been getting a lot of stick. I respect him. Here's the armband. He could have given it to anyone, couldn't he?
Well, I think there is a certain pecking order, isn't there? I'd imagine that. I'd imagine Souček's a popular member of the team.
Yeah.
In the play amongst the players. You can see he was standing there when Deck was being interviewed after. I see a clip and they pan round and Souček was there smiling and said something. So, which is good to see, which is good to see. I don't know. Perhaps it's a mark of, for me, I see Souček as more as his new Fellaini in a way.
Yeah.
He trusts him and whatever, and no matter what, I heard it. I think it's terrible. Luckily, I fit so far away from the ground, Souček wouldn't hear what people were saying about him during the game.
Souček does what Moyes wants him to do. He is his right-hand man on the pitch in a way, isn't he? Because he will do the dirty work. And
you could say though, he's a player in the David Moyes mould, in that he's uninspired. This is not being horrible. He's uninspiring, ordinary. No flair.
But he does the job.
Yeah, but that's David Moyes to a T, isn't it?
Yeah. Quick one. Someone's got why you've got 1923 WHU. 1923 FA Cup final with a white horse. Absolutely correct. Do you want to tell them why you've got 1923 on your tile?
in 1 week's time, it'll be the 100th. It'll be 100 years to the day since the 1923 Cup final, which is obviously is an important day in West Ham's history, as it was the opening of the final of Wembley Stadium, or as it was known in the Empire Stadium, not at Wembley Stadium. So the opening of the that had been built in a year. That's all it was built in. You know, they were still laying concrete 2 weeks before. No test event. They got like a few thousand people to come and march up and down the terraces, to test if it was ready or not. Obviously, it was pay on the door, so I'm sure people know the official attendance. I believe is 120,000. We all, everybody knows now there was approximately 200 to 240,000.
Okay,
yeah.
Surprised the bloody thing didn't fall down.
Well, yeah, people, the gate receipts were probably not reflected in that, because probably 100,000 climbed over and broke in. It's some fantastic shots of what Wembley, if you've been to Wembley recently, and to look back at what Wembley looked like. I mean, basically, Wembley Stadium was built in a field with a train station near it. That was it. And if you look at what it's become now, but I hope, I hope the club's going to do something. I protect the
bet you they won't. Will they?
Well, I'm making a film that will go out on the day.
Okay.
So a 15-20-minute film. I'll see what it lasts. And it'll tell the story of the day. To mark the occasion. And, technically, I suppose the 11 players are the first real heroes, legends of the club. I mean, 1923 was a big year. Not only did we get to the cup final, not only was it the first to Wembley, but it was we got promoted from Division 2 into the First Division for the first time. So it was a big season for West Ham.
See, you always know. That's why I put it in the intro that we're going to pick up. We're always going to go off on a tangent, and you're going to come up with something that, like, I knew the final was on that in that year, but I didn't know we got promoted that year. Don't tell me you got a program.
Well, I'm not an original. They're not so hard to come by, the originals. But probably £800 to £1,000 at auction. You wouldn't be buying, but this is a copy reprint. I've got about 2 or 3 of these actually. But it's a proper reprint, so it's got all the information in the program, tells you the team, tells you our West Ham story about West Ham. You got to remember that at the time, there's the 2 teams at the time. West Ham were a Division 2 team, never been in Division 1. We weren't thought of as a big team. We'd only joined the Football League in 1919. We'd technically been a non-league team up until the First World War, and then once football resumed after the First World War, we got invited to join the Football League, got put straight into Division 2, which was contentious at the time. We didn't have to go into Division 3 South, straight into Division 2. And West Ham actually got fined by the Southern League, who we were members of, for going straight in. And of course, we've never been where, there's not many teams that can say they've only played in the top 2 flights of football. So
we're one of them.
We are one of them. Even Man City, Man City have played 3rd-tier football in the last 25 years. Imagine that.
Well, that's good history. That's good history.
So yeah, it's I'll do a little bit on Bolton as well. Bolton won the cup 3 times in the 20s. and never conceded a goal.
Are you going to put that on 6'2"?
Yes, yeah.
There you go, people. If you get to become a member, 6foot2.co.uk, free membership. And there's some good stories on there. And when Nigel puts up a history story, it's worth it, because it's stuff that you would not normally know about. So do go on and subscribe to that. I've got a question up here. No, it's not a question; it's a statement, and I know because a lot of people have been saying this lately, and sort of getting back to them today. Players are taking the initiative, demanding more expansive tactics. My honest opinion of the form upturn. People are saying, as I'm sure you know, they're avoiding what Moyes is telling them. Isn't it interesting? And it's not having a go at you, Vinay, by the way, but it's interesting that when we're losing, it's Moyes' fault, and when we're winning, it's got nothing to do with him.
Yeah. Well, look, you're always going to have that. Yeah. You when a change happens. Now, I think I was talking. I think it might have been on the podcast this week on one of the podcasts we put out, and where I explained that I remember talking to Alan Taylor, or the 1975 Cup winning hero. And I said to him about when you're out on the pitch, what do you, how do you execute what the manager's told you? Do you go out there and you stick to a plan? And he basically said, well, no, you can't do that. You've forgot 90% of it by the time you run out. And then basically, though, how can you play that game when a game is changed by a decision made by a player? So the opposition player may look to pass out to the left and change his mind and go right. So you have to react to that. It's reactions to actions.
Yeah.
And that is what forms the game. So actually, possibly 90% of the result is down on the players.
Mm-hmm.
So while collectively you would then turn around and say, well, the players are executing a plan. The manager's got to come up with a plan, though. And he's got to coach them into a formula, set out the tactics. And, let's face it, Moyes has not got that right this season. Or has struggled. The club has struggled with that. But to say that the players are going out and ignoring what he said and said, well, we're going to do it. I think that that's there just to fit a narrative. That's just to fit there. I'm sorry. Let's say it. It's just to fit. You don't want Moyes, and then you want to come up with a reason to keep going on that transit, and you come up with that because there is no way on this earth that West Ham, that Declan Rice has turned around and said to players, fuck what he says, we're going to do it our way. See, no way.
Well, I'm with you. I think it's, I think it is because that's what, I understand it. A lot of people are pissed off with Moyes, and I think that's what people want to believe. I mean, Bill says conspiracy theory, players start to follow Moyes' instructions, go behind, then do their own thing. Or is it actually a Moyes plan B? We talk about Moyes being one-dimensional. I mean, I've said this for a long time. You don't tell players to go out there and just defend, do you?
No,
you don't.
No. The thing is, what's the saying? I'm not saying it's right, but form is temporary, class is permanent. So basically, you've got an understanding. I've had it in a WhatsApp group with some of the podcast boys. About it's Moyes. It was almost like some of them were blaming Moyes because our players couldn't pass the ball properly. Was it Moyes' fault that Paqueta gave the ball away with a bad pass?
No.
Is that Moyes' coach? Has Moyes coached that into him?
Yeah.
Individual errors are not down on that. So when we give the ball away and the opposition score from it, when we give a penalty away and they score from it, when bad tackles are made, when defensive errors are made, when goalkeepers drop the ball, when the team puts out a bad performance and tactically, where I have a problem with Moyes is some of the things that he says, and I think is lack of ability to change a game.
Yeah.
Now, you can call it stubbornness, his rigidity to that system that he puts out. Even yesterday, if I'm can be critical, I still thought our two wide players, Ben Rama and Bowen, were too far away from Antonio.
Yeah, they
And
were
and
ironically. Yeah.
the problem is when he's running through and he seems to have lost a yard of pace that possibly comes with age and injuries. Yeah, he's 33 now, or knocking it at least.
Mm.
And so he's lost that bit of pace, that burst to get him past. So he needs to be able to pass to someone. Well, if they're both out wide, he's got no one, has he?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
reason for that is because he sticks with that rigid defensive two in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So, he definitely played a 4-3-3 yesterday. Which I don't know, it's not for me. I'm a 4-4. I still think that with the players we got, a 4-4-2 would be a better option.
There are certain games where you can do a 4-4-2, aren't there? And maybe last night was one of those games where it could have been. It's not even risky, is it? You got a flat line of four, two lines of four.
Cool. Listen, I can remember under Harry going to Chelsea, played one up front. We did nothing for 80 minutes. He brought Paul Kitson on, we won 1-0. And we all herald that as fucking brilliant. Yeah. He keep it tight, don't concede, nick a goal at the end. And we loved it. It's so, sometimes I'll read some of the comments like on Twitter, and I don't get involved now because it ain't worth arguing with people. People could be entrenched in their arguments. But because we're not, we're only beating crap. Well, you can only beat who you're playing.
You can only beat who's in front of you.
So in this in this European League, you can only beat who you're playing. Well, we don't turn around to the boys of 65 and go, do you know what? That Langantois, they were a bit shy, wouldn't they? So actually, that don't count. So who else did you beat on the way? Zagreb, well, they weren't nothing back in the 60s, were they? Zagreb didn't mean much. TSV Munich, they're a Division 3 team in Germany now. They couldn't have been much cop, could they?
I find that. I mean, someone called it a moment ago the autoglass, the European version of the autoglass trophy. A European competition is European competition, isn't it? And there's a lot riding on this because, as we said at the start of the show, we win this, we're back in Europe for the third. Historically, we're back in Europe for the third season in a row.
To qualify for this tournament, a lot of these are qualifying via finishing second or third in their, home league.
Yeah.
So they're not finishing 6th or 7th like we've done. They're finishing second and third. So,
and I get it. I get what people are saying, that these teams they're not the best, but this is you got to respect UEFA in some ways. They do a lot of shit, but in this particular competition, to actually give you the incentive to win it and then go into the second tier.
I understood why they took away the European Cup Winners' Cup. Now, the problem with the European Cup Winners' Cup was you had to win the domestic FA Cup in that league. The problem is, especially, I suppose, in the big countries, is as they expanded the Champions League, it was a good chance that whoever won the domestic cup had also finished in the top 3 or 4 of the domestic league. So they were always going to go into the Champions League rather than the Cup Winners' Cup. So basically, what they're saying is the runners-up of the Cup Winners' Cup, or the runners-up in the cup, like we did when we played Palermo. Let's get this right. In 2006, we only qualified for Europe because we lost the FA Cup final and Liverpool were already in Europe.
Yeah.
So we went into the Europa League, or it might have been still called UEFA Cup back then. We went straight into that. People weren't moaning about that. We only got in because we lost.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with this cup, to be honest with you. I think for me, it's given us another season of European football, some great moments. Last night, to be honest with you, was akin to some of the games that we played in Europe last season, like the game against Seville and so on. It had that. It was almost full capacity. I mean,
have a look. I mean, a lot of that team were the team that beat Seville. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What the Seville that in the last, I think I saw a stat, the last 6 years they've been in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, like 4 times. Well, one season they didn't make the quarterfinals was when we knocked them out.
When we knocked them out.
And this is roughly the same Seville, El Nesri and
the Seville that beat Man United last night.
Yeah, it's the team that we beat.
Yeah,
same players. So this, and it's been I get it, in the league. It's been a bad season. I don't think we ever recovered, to be honest. I think the fan base lost a lot of faith before and after the World Cup with those 5 defeats.
Yeah,
and actually, the form that we've had since January has been hit or miss, but I would call that West Ham form.
That's what, yeah.
Believe it or not. I'm not going to say to people that got carried away with 6th and 7th finishes, but as history denotes, that's a rarity in West Ham. It's not a common.
This is the thing, Nigel. It's exactly that. It's not commonplace for us to finish in.
And people can accuse me of having a lack of ambition and whatever, and I will answer that with no. It's an understanding of where we are as a club in our domestic situation in our league.
But people then will argue, because of all the money we spent, etc., we should have picked up from last season.
Yeah, but look at the money Chelsea have spent,
and look where they are.
That's
actually an interesting point. I was going to do a show on this where I remember talking about Bowley before he bought Chelsea. There was rumor that he might have been, for some godforsaken reason,
for us,
he might have been interested in us.
Yeah.
Aren't we lucky in the way he's interfering and messing around and spending money like it's not going out of fashion, that he's messed it up, hasn't he?
I don't know if we're lucky, in a way. I don't,
But we don't like interfering owners. We accuse our own.
We don't like owners. The most popular owners I remember, to be honest, were the Icelandics for 2 years.
Yeah, because they spent money. Well, they thought they did.
And Golden Sullivan when they bought the club. Yeah, and let's face it, we all know what I thought about them when they bought the club.
Yeah.
So, and madly, I wasn't a fan of selling the club to the Icelandics because, being a traditionalist, I still like the fact that we were a club that had never been bought and sold.
Yeah. And look how that turned out.
Well, yeah,
Talking of buying and selling, because there's a question here that I want to cover. Now, I've got a theory that this young man ain't leaving us at the end of the season if we win this cup.
Oh, well.
And what do you think?
I think he's going, mate.
Regardless. Even though the passion, the way he spoke, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's Vinay saying, should Moyes really be allowed to spend the Rice money? Or are you happy with Antonio, Fabianski, Souček starting all next season? Well, I know where you're getting at, Vinay. It's all the players in their sort of mid-30s, etc. And basically suggesting that Moyes might squander the Rice money.
Look, a good few years ago, I remember writing an article, Dad's Army, and I think it might have been Bilic, the manager, and people were raving about the transfer window it had. When we brought in Joe Hart, we brought in Zabaleta, we brought these players in, and I went, the only problem is they're all 28 to 30 years, even Arnautovic, to be fair. They were all either at the peak or falling off the edge of the cliff. They were never going to grow into the club. So there was no long term. When we first moved into that stadium, because of the pressure by the fan base for instant results to turn the club around from being traditional West Ham into this new super duper club that we were supposedly promised with the super duper stadium. They went out and spent all the money on players they thought that were instantly going to change. Well, it didn't work, did it?
Mm-hmm.
So what they've actually, and so in a way, if you look at the players, last season we had the oldest average age.
Yeah, and we still have.
Right. So
We
it
still
has
have.
to, so when Moyes stands there and says we knew we got to involve the club, it was obvious we had to involve the club. Am I happy that Fabianski's still going to be number one? Oh, that's a loaded question for me, innit? I'm one of Fabianski's biggest fans.
You are, and I get it, because this season he's had actually a great season.
Yeah,
He turned 38 the
but
other
at
day.
some point you have to prepare for the future, and that means for me next season Areola should be number one.
He should be, shouldn't he?
Fabianski can be the cup keeper.
What if Fabianski is given another year? Well, I think what Vinay is basically trying to say is he'll stick with the same players regardless. So
we
the
don't know
likes of
that, do we?
Fabianski,
We don't know that, because if you listen actually to what Moyes says, he says that this season was always going to be a transition season. It's going to be a season where he breaks up the old and brings in new. Now, the
he
fact
said that,
is,
didn't he? I have to break this team if I, if I have to.
He has to. He's maintained it, and it could be that he sat down with the board and went through it with them, and explained to them, look, this season's not going to be the same because we've got to break, we've got to do away with all these old players and bring in new players. Now we can all throw, oh, he spent £180 million. He brought in 9 players. Well, that's a lot. That's not a lot of money
more
for
than
9
they would have
players.
wanted to. It's more than they would have wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. But if you work it out, by bringing in 9 players, not a lot of money, but there's big money signings on Skamaka, Paquetá, Agurd. Now, I did this on the podcast. Right, let's go. Agurd, good signing or not?
Yes, for me.
Right. Paquetá, good signing or not?
Yes, for me. Yeah.
Flynn Downs, good signing or not?
Up and coming.
Right. Good signing or not?
Yeah, I think for the future,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've signed Areola permanently. Good signing or not?
Definitely.
Right. So now, what we're left with is Skamaka.
Really, yeah.
So one failure. So everybody's going, we spent all this money. Who are the bad signings then? Because he's got one bad sign. Cornet, sit on the fence.
Sit Cornet because he's been injured.
Because
I would have expected him to get a bit more game time. That might come. But we know there's a good player in there.
That's what I'm saying. So it could be. So we sit on the fence with Cornet. So we got 4 really good players, or 4, I think, really good signings. One on the fence and one that looks, has shown glimpses, but looks like he's going to be a failure. Well, that ain't bad. We'll probably sell him. We'll lose money on him. I think he'll never play for West Ham again, if I'm being truthfully honest.
Yeah, I agree.
We may get 24 million for him.
Well, this is the other criticism of Moyes, isn't it? Which is why people want to see him gone, because we had the Hilaire debacle. Yeah. I'd even throw in there, we had the Anderson issue, who's now playing.
But who was singing Hilaire's praises before he left the club when he was playing for us and not scoring goals?
I was, but I probably was the only voice.
Not many, Benny, was there? Let's be honest.
I always backed Hilaire. I always thought there was a good player
Was you
there.
Disappointed when he left?
Yeah, I was. To be really honest with you, I was. I was. But I know a lot of fans weren't, because I think there's other people. There's people who always said if you play him in the right way. But this is the next argument with Moyes. If you play a player in the right way, you'll get the best out of him. And I'm looking at Hilaire.
Yeah, but again, this is where I'll go to Moyes, and this is where I don't understand the transfer. Is if you're playing a certain way, and Antonio was key to that success, Arnautovic was a success. It was Moyes that took Arnautovic from being wide, like in the Bowen role, and put him down the middle, the Antonio role. Yeah, he did the same then with Antonio.
Yeah.
Well, then what you need to be doing is looking at the and this is a player we could be getting. I think we could get him out of Newcastle, Alan Sam Maximum. I still maintain even Traore at Wolves. If you're going to
No,
play
not
that
for me.
way, get the like for like. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if Moyes can take these players and play them down the middle, he's turned Arnautovic, he's turned
Yeah.
Antonio. I would have thought he would go out. Danny Ings don't fit that role. And this is
No.
where
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
with the anti-Moyes people in you baffle the life out of me. How can a manager who's managed in the Premier League for so long come out and say, we don't know where best to play Danny, we don't know really what he's capable of? What?
But that's the frustrating part of Moyes, isn't it?
Yeah, because one, you're supposed to be this man that scouts their own players, that wants to do everything. So he's out watching football all the time. He would watch every Premier League game. Well, he must have watched Danny Ings for the last 10 years at least.
And then he came out with
We
that
all
comment.
know. I'm not being funny. We're amateurs. We know where Danny Ings plays best.
Why do you think he says some things like that? Though? I
Oh,
mean,
mate.
what
Stupidity.
This is the thing that baffles people, and this is the thing that gets people's backs up.
Do you know what I think? I've got a mad theory. I think he don't like doing press conferences, and I think sometimes, honestly, I think he's got a deep dislike of the press.
Yeah,
yeah, and
well, we've heard that before.
yeah, and he would do a press conference, and he don't want to be there, and he'll just throw him any dog a bone.
But it winds us up.
Yeah, but because what we do is he thinks he's playing with the press, but then we're all reading it, yeah,
And taking it serious.
and the press then take it. They sort of probably, I don't know if he's got many fans in the press or what. I think it's a 50-50 split, but there's definitely members of the press that take what he says and use it against him.
Yeah,
fans are at the end of the day, if they're fed a diet of a certain stance, they may follow that path. That's the way it is. They listen. If you hear the thing, you watch it with your eyes, and then you hear people like us and all the other channels saying certain things. Fans will go down that road.
yeah.
And sometimes fans will go down the road and go, I'm not for turning. This is why I am.
Yeah.
And in a way, I understand it. Having gone through 4 years of that scumbag Allardyce, people throw this at me all the time. Oh, like Moyes, like with Allardyce. The thing I've always said is I'd have sacked Allardyce the day he walked into the club, because actually, if I was owning the club, he wouldn't have been appointed in the first place. So there would have been 4 years of Allardyce for people to throw at me. Yeah, I didn't wait for the day one and him to win a game of football, or for him to start losing football, to start playing negative, to dislike the man. I disliked him while he was managing Bolton, while he was managing Newcastle, while he was coming up with some of the worst tactics with.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. In terms of tactics, who's worse? Moyes or Allardyce?
No, Allardyce all day long. Allardyce's tactic was to Andy Carroll was key to everything in what he did.
People will argue that a player like Antonio will be the same. Will be the same for Moyes.
But no, it ain't, because when do we hit the ball long? Or are we playing it into his feet? Is he hitting the ball long and we're feeding off his scraps? No, we're trying to play the ball into him so he can run and use his pace for him to turn a player. That's predominantly what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're doing it badly, and this is the thing.
Yeah,
the tactic with the right players could be a good tactic. Last night were two of our goals not breakaway goals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The type of goals that beat Chelsea with Yarmolenko when he come on as that late sub. Yeah.
The goal that saved us, saved our league position.
Yeah. The what was the Yarmolenko? Was it the Seville game, Yarmolenko? The Lyon game? The breakaway.
No, Leon.
Yeah, at home. The counter-attacking football. Gent were very naive. Very naive. They to be fair to them, they played into our hands. You would never get a Premier League team leave 2 players back.
No. Mm-hmm. People are, Anthony's asking, will people stop talking about, or saying, will people stop talking about Rice leaving? He will still be in a claret and blue shirt and captain of West Ham. You're convinced he's going?
Yes.
I'm not so convinced. Unless you know something that none of us know.
Well, look, do I know 100% for sure? No, I don't. Yeah. But I get an inkling of stuff behind the scenes to think that, and this is the thing, players can be pushed into a direction by the people managing their affairs. And if the people managing
his dad,
well, you know, we all know who's running his affairs off the field.
Yeah.
Listen, do I think Declan Rice doesn't love West Ham? No, I think he loves us to bits. I think he loves everything about the club and everything. There was a funny thing. I had a bloke shouting out, if you could stay with us, you just think of the legend you become. I think he'll go down as a legend, even if he leaves. Well, not even if, you know, what's he done? 5-6 seasons now. Played over 200 games in the is it 200 Premier League games? I think already. You know,
and if he lifts a trophy at the end of it,
well, you know, the only thing that could spoil it would be in that white kit.
I hope we don't fucking wear that. Can you imagine winning that trophy? And we're wearing our
Len would just
orange.
have to brush out the orange bits and make it all white.
I hope to God, the fucking kit makers.
Well,
give us
here's a funny thing: is like I'm not saying it could set a precedent. Yeah, but in 1975-76, the last time we got wait. The last time we got the European Cup final, yeah. For the final, West Ham wore a kit they hadn't wore all season.
What, the white kit that we wore?
No. In the 75-76 Cup final.
I'm thinking about the FA Cup. Sorry.
Yeah. So in the FA Cup final, we wore in 75, we wore claret and blue like normal.
Yeah.
Throughout the run, we wore the claret and blue kit that we always wore. Claret body, blue shirts. In the final, for the first time ever, West Ham wore the chevron shirt.
Fuck me.
First time ever. And then from that season onwards, we then wore the chevron shirt up to 1980. So the first time we wore what I call the chevron shirt was the 1976 European Cup Winners' Cup final.
Are you hoping then that we follow that?
The problem
we cannot go and win that trophy.
I'll tell you how much I've looked at it. I went and looked at everybody else's kit. Yeah, because and this is the worry. Yeah, so if you look, if you look at who
Basel,
the opposition are,
they wear a similar kit,
red and blue. Fiorentina, purple and white.
Purple and white.
So realistically, I don't really want. If I'm picking the 2 teams out of them, if we can get past Alkmaar, I'd want to face Basel.
Same.
Yeah. Because Italian teams, you never know where you are with them. Yeah. And frankly, I think if you're going to be in Prague, you'd rather be drinking with the Swiss than the Italians, because
too fucking right you would.
Been to Italy and seen football.
The Italians are going to smash the bottle over your head.
You know, well, that's the thing. You know, what I discovered was why the Pope kisses the ground every time he leaves Italy. Because I'll tell you what, I was kissing that tarmac when I got back to Blighty.
Oh, yeah, when you got stuck in
Palermo for a week. Went for a week.
And you took your missus with you.
Yeah. It was her birthday.
Wonderful.
Yeah, on the day of the game. She spent it in the hotel room.
You're such a romantic. You're such a romantic.
Oh dear.
So we cannot fucking wear that kit.
No.
We cannot, can we?
No.
I mean, there's got to be some sort of petition or something, if we get to the final.
Well, yeah, the only thing is now kits are so far done in preparation, and it's all about, back then it weren't about money, was it?
Yeah.
But
what fucking money are they making? No one's buying that kit. I've never seen anyone wear it.
I've seen a few,
Have you?
not many. It's so bad that normally, I've got my shirt collection. That when
I
you
bet
think,
that ain't made
I
it.
don't even care if it's a tenner. It ain't getting bought and it ain't hanging up.
But that'll be the kit where if we win the trophy,
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because if you win it, then I suppose realistically, I've got to go and get it for the collection.
Oh dear.
It
is the worst. I mean, we've had some shit kits, but that is the shittiest. I mean, for them to actually make up a story that it is part of our fucking.
That's the best, and that just tops it off. You can just see Umbro sitting there, because from what I understand is that like the third kit is almost like a free license,
a free hit.
Yeah. So the club, in a way, get given the third kit. So because there's no way that the club signed off on that third kit. Yeah.
Fuck me.
So the third kit turns up and they've got to deal with this orange shite all over the bottom. And the marketers, I'll tell you what, whoever come up with it's the embers of the foundries of the founding fathers at the Thames Ironworks, whoever in marketing came up with that, I hope he got paid a lot of money, because I'll tell you what, the man's a fucking genius.
Matt says our third kit looks like, give me a lava lamp.
Yes. A lava lamp. Yeah, it's a broken one. It's just stuck at the bottom.
Do you know what? Daniela reckons the cream kit was worse. I don't think it was worse than that.
Can I just point out, Daniela? Ecru. Not cream.
Ecru.
And do you know what colour that is on our shirt? That ain't just orange, people.
What is it?
It's not Marks and Spencer's orange either. It's burnt orange.
Oh yeah, because of the irons, the forged from fucking irons.
Burnt orange.
What a fucking pile of shit that is. Honestly, right?
Dude, if that's all we've got to moan about, come winning the trophy, then to be fair, we've done well.
Done all right.
But that'll be just so West Ham, isn't it? We finally win a trophy after 43 years.
And then you're going to see everyone
all the old
rushing out
geezers
to
sitting
buy
there
that
going, fucking shit shirt though, isn't it?
Talking about winners, we got to briefly talk about this lot.
Yeah.
The under 18, what a phenomenal season. They're champions of the under 18s Premier League South with a couple of games to spare.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, people, it's a sellout crowd. We got 7,000 tickets and it's sold out for the FA Youth Cup final. Which
sold out the West Ham end. I don't know about the Arsenal end.
I think there's a capacity of 20,000 altogether. Now, I heard that we both got 7,000 each, and I think they're going to give they got something like 6,000 for neutrals or something like that.
Well, obviously, I work with a majority of Arsenal fans, which I was surprised because a lot of them are season ticket holders at my work, and they all got free tickets.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So they got given their tickets for free.
Right.
I don't know if they're sitting in the nice bit though, in the corporate bit. I don't know, but they're upstairs. So, and this is the bit I find strange because the club are saying upper tier shut, and I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty sure one of the directors at work got his tickets and he sits upstairs and he got because he did it in front of me.
Right.
Because I got my tickets obviously in the West, because they did say about me coming with them, and I said no, I'm going in the West Ham end. So turned down a free ticket, which is and paid me £5, and I didn't have to win the ballot, Mr. Whetstone, to get tickets.
Is he going?
Yeah, he won tickets in the ballot.
What fucking ballot?
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't a ballot.
Well, there must have been.
There weren't. Definitely wasn't one. Without a shadow of, I know for 100%. He's a lying git.
I can't tell you how sausages are made. Not
Oh,
on
yeah.
air.
He'll tell us. He'll tell us on the night.
I'll tell you after.
But
Anyway.
look, I mean, this is another thing with Moyes, isn't it? Like, he gets a hell of a lot of stick for not using youngsters, and we've been hearing for quite a while now. Well, what about Mbama? Why is he not playing? Why is he not getting game time, etc.? You know, you got Skamaka out. Surely there's a slot for him, and so on and so forth. I mean, honestly, Nigel, we're not the only club in the Premier League or in it or most leagues
No.
that don't use our youngsters, are we?
It does get harder to bring youngsters through, and I'll tell you what's quite telling as well. So if you look at the English players in our team, so Antonio never came through a Premier League academy. Creswell never came through a Premier League academy. Bowen never came through a Premier League academy. Flynn didn't come through a Premier League academy. What are Premier League academies doing then?
Yeah, because it isn't just us, is it?
So no,
But
it's
Moyes gets. I mean, please don't get me wrong, people. This isn't a pro Moyes show. It's just like the things that are coming out. But he gets slated for not using our Premier League players, and yet wasn't there a stat that said that 97% of Premier League academy players don't make it in the Premier League?
yeah, something.
You know,
like
they
that,
forge careers, but it will be
Yeah.
in the lower leagues. It'd be like League One, League Two, or
Yeah.
you know, Championship, etc. So it's no different for us, is it? I mean, it'd be fantastic. There are some that squad there, the under 18s have got some fantastic players, and Barmer obviously being the one that we know about. Interestingly, Skulls, when I went to the semi-final, and he weren't standout in that semi-final. There were
No.
other players, you know, around him that was standout, you know,
No,
like and
I mean, that getting an history lesson. If you look back, this will be so. I think the first time in the Youth Cup final was 57, late 50s. Bobby Moore. I think we lost in the final.
yeah,
I'm going to right guess here. People check it out. I think it was to Blackburn Rovers.
I did it a few weeks ago, and I wish I'd kept the script. But
so then we won it for the first time in '63. So if you look where Bobby Moore came through, I think a couple of others, Jack Burkett, I think played in that team. So about 3 or 4 of the youth team then broke through. You go back to the '63 when we won it. Harry Redknapp was in the team.
yeah,
Johnny Sissons was in I believe in the team. Johnny Charles was captain. He was in the team. Mackleworth was the keeper. Had a few first team games. So you know, you then have to go into 70. Well, Canning Townlend's fantastic film, The Boys of '74. We got to the Youth Cup final in '75. Alvin Martin, Jeff Pike, Alan Kirbishley, who have I forgotten? Paul Brush, all went on to first team careers with West Ham from that youth team. Go to '81, Bobby Barnes, Paul Allen, Alan Dickens.
put your glasses on.
Yeah, else he said, shut up.
Wankers.
Yeah, fucking wankers. You're right. Go fucking. So
Sorry,
anyway, yeah. So '81, Alan Dickens, Paul Allen. Paul Allen becomes a record breaker by winning the FA Youth Cup after winning the real FA Cup. Never been done before, never been done again. Not many kids win the Youth Cup and the FA Cup anyway. He did it in reverse.
Mm.
And then, so there's another 3 that have good West Ham careers from that youth team. We then jump forward to we lost to Liverpool 96, 97 with Lampard, Omni Imni, obviously Rio, that era of players. Odgies, I think, had a couple of first team games as well. Then we won it, didn't we? Beating Coventry 9-0,
9-0
up
on
St
aggregate.
Park.
Yeah.
Joe Cole, Carrick, you know, did well for West Ham. Richard Garcia played in that game, who actually came back in the Premier League 10 years later, I think, with Hull City. So therefore, you look at this team and you think, right, well, who are the 3 or 4 then? Because every time we've got to the Youth Cup final, 3 or 4 have come out of it to do well for us. So you've got to be looking at Obama, Skulls, I think, can do it. I can't remember that. I'm not really au fait with the names, I must admit. I think the bloke who was the captain looked outstanding.
Kadua.
Yeah, him looked outstanding.
He was excellent. He was excellent. And when I sort of did my weekly show and I talked about him, he's the sort of character that all the other youngsters, he's 18 years of age, and all the other youngsters are looking up to him as a leader, you know, and you could see he almost looked quite adult in the way he played, if that makes sense. You know, he played it with ease. And there was the right back. I can't remember the guy's name, Bartram, I think, our right back, which was really, really good. You know, a couple of standouts. And interestingly, you know, and there's nothing against Skulls because I think he's going to be a good player, but he wasn't the one that, you know, Mbama stood out, obviously, Kadua did, but Skulls didn't, for me, wasn't stand out.
No, but he didn't put a foot wrong.
But
it is hard when you got 17-year-olds playing against 17-year-olds, because you don't know how they're going to react playing against 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
And this is the difference. This is where I think the kids are let down by not having reserve football. By all means, have under 18s. But once they're 18, you could have under 21, but then have a reserve league where it's a mixture, where it's 50% of over 25s and 50% under 25s. And that's the way you get a real judge of how these players
of how good they are. Downey, I don't know if it will be televised, mate. I'm not sure.
I believe it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally it is live. But if not, it'll be on the FA's it'll be on the FA website. 100% FA player will have it. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a marvellous achievement if they win that.
Well, I've watched the last 3 rounds on the FA player.
Say again.
So I've watched the last 3 rounds. Ipswich, obviously the Southampton game. I've forgotten who it was in the first one. I caught about 15 minutes of it. So it will be either on the FA website, but normally the Youth Cup is shown on Sky, I believe.
All right. I thought it was, someone said maybe even YouTube, but yeah.
It may be they'll run it, but it will be available.
But free. It'll be, I mean, some of these young, I mean, there was a lot of outcry in the January transfer window because we sold a couple of the youngsters. And at the time there was a suggestion that because these under 18s, a lot of these under 18s are that good, the suggestion was that they're making space for them to the next level. And I haven't seen the way they play. I mean, they've knocked spots off people. You know, now that they've won their league, they'll be playing the winners of the Northern League, which is either between Man City, I believe, or Sunderland,
who got beat quite well by Arsenal in the semi-final. But what I would throw into the mix is that since we cleared the decks of the under 20 or the under 21s that were playing under 21 football, the upturning form of the under 21 team has been almost the same upturn, or has almost been as good as the under 18s the way they've played. Mubama was moved up into the under. Has been scoring. It was moved up. You know, we were rock bottom of the league before the World Cup. We're now sitting mid-table.
Yeah.
So actually, those players that are left, they've brought the players up that have come in, and it's actually the under 23s have improved, or the under 21s. Sorry,
21s.
The under 21s have actually improved their position by a long way.
Because of the players that have gone. Yeah.
So it shows actually by clearing out the youngsters that were standing there. Not saying they're not going to make it in professional football, but the West Ham made a judgment. Actually, these were better. We need to get these up
Yeah.
and get them trying out.
There's a lot of hope, isn't there? There's a lot of hope for some of these players.
Yeah, if we can find another 2 or 3, there's
What is the you just said 2 or 3? What's the? I mean, we've had 2 over the last couple of years. I know Ben Johnson's form has fallen away, but Ben Johnson and Declan Rice over the last few years.
Yeah.
If we get another 2 or another 3 over the next 2 or 3 years, that's not bad, is it?
No. Look, that's pretty good actually turnout in a way. Look, the days of Man United live off of the class of '92, didn't they?
Yeah.
There's not many that they've brought through. When you think from that, how many youth players? Obviously at the moment Rashford stands out. McTominay, maybe.
But you're not talking of like what they've done before under Ferguson.
No, and nobody goes around saying rip up their academy.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna get back onto the manager situation, and there was a story that came out the other week. Was there a handshake? Has Moyes agreed to go? I did a twist on this the other day where I said I couldn't understand why David Sullivan would have turned around to Moyes before the end of the season and go, thanks for everything you've done, but at the end of the season, you're going. And I kind of looked at it from a different perspective. And actually, it was Clive, Green Street Elites, who sort of planted the seed in my head that maybe, given that Moyes has seen that he's lost certainly the away fan base now, he himself might have turned around and said to Sullivan, I'll go at the end of the season. Possible or not?
Look, anything's possible. I think the problem is the story's coming out again. No matter what, Moyes is leaving at the end of the season.
Well, there were stories again today. Apparently,
I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't. And this is the thing. All right, Silly Nuts is watching. Yeah, he's put stories out. The club line to certain members of their favoured social media is we don't make a decision until the end of the season, which actually is what they've always done. Now, it's quite possible that they have put feelers out to see who would be interested and everything. Agents have their own agendas. Clubs use agents to find out who would, who wouldn't, who can, who will, who won't. And actually, I would expect a club to go out and do its due diligence and know, this is what people praise Brighton. Brighton generally know who their next manager or who they want. They will have a manager. They will have a list to replace De Zerbi being formulated now, because they know that a big boy may turn around and go, we'll have De Zerbi, and he'll go, thank you very much, Brighton. I've shown the Premier League what I can do because of you, but I'm off now to earn my 10 million a year. Yeah, but because we know that's what happens.
Yeah.
So, and a properly run club, and I use that word laughably in West Ham's case, a properly run club should have an idea. Now, to do that, they have to talk to people. Unfortunately, by talking to people, agents then know they can manipulate the situation at West Ham, use it to their advantage, maybe get their thing, talk to a certain journalist. The journalists will print, and then there's your story, innit? All of a sudden, then what happens is the first journalist breaks it, all the others now follow like sheep. So now what you get is a wave of David Moyes is leaving the club no matter what, where the club are sitting there thinking, well, that ain't the case, because if we say if he does finish the season in a in a better in a better way, and then go on to win that trophy on June the 7th, because when you're gonna sack him, June the 8th.
Well, this is why I didn't think it made sense for first of all, for the timing of it, for Sullivan to turn around and say to Moyes, listen, mate, thank you very much. You know, no matter what happens, you're off at the end of the season. That's why I kind of speculated, and I thought maybe this has been turned on its head. If there's any truth in the matter, you know, maybe. I mean, someone's just said, you know, Moyes is likely to get a bonus rather than the sack if we win.
Well, of course. Well, look,
you know.
if he wins a trophy, he's getting a bonus. It's not.
Yeah.
He's more likely he will get a bonus.
Well, I've got to ask it in a serious way, not in a mocking way. I've got to ask it in a serious way because the fan base is so split over Moyes. So, I mean, I can't remember the last time we've been so divided as a fan base over the manager. You know, even with Allardyce, it was like almost everybody wanted him gone by the time.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, look, I played a field in 2011 when he turned up, and there was if I said that I had an handful of us, it was, you know, the fisherman who'd lost 2 fingers to a shark handful, who were anti-Moyes, anti-Allardyce, sorry, from day one. You know, people fucking sung his name at Wembley. Definitely not me. Losers Cup and all that. And, you know, and then the football nosedived from there, you know. But I think after season 3, everyone had had enough of him, to the point. But he still got season 4, didn't he?
But this is it.
He survived Operation Allardyce out, which was a real thing, people.
But Moyes is at that stage for a lot of people. You know, Spencer's saying Moyes isn't the right man for our club. Cockney's saying we can't keep Moyes, he'll revert to type, put us back in the mire next season. He's been sussed. You know, there are people who will believe that no matter what happens, I know we spoke about this at the start of the show, but no matter what happens, you know, they don't want him here.
Well, no, because the funny thing about it is that it's hard to predict the future next season because you don't know what players will come in, what players will go out, how it will turn out. But if you look at it at the moment and say, are you confident that West Ham will be different next season? No, I'm bloody not. I think there's more pain to come. At the end of the day, we've definitely got a problem at left back. If you look again, yeah, so we've brought and this is the thing where it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. This average age was 28. The average age was 28. So there was a lot of older players, too many. We got to clear these and move these out. You know, it's pretty obvious that we need new left back. Well, guess what? We need more than one left back.
Yeah, we need. Yeah, but we've been saying this for a number of seasons.
So we need 2 left backs.
Yeah,
because
and this is what Vinay asked earlier in the show. You know, would you trust Moyes in spending the £100 million we'll get for Declan?
Well,
or are you going to be happy to continue seeing
a well-run football club? The coaching, the manager doesn't have. Obviously, the manager has to have a final say, but he's not the all-powerful managers they are back in the day. It's not like John Lyle, who's like, I'm buying the players, I'm choosing the players I want to buy. The club is supposed to bring the players in, and the coach is supposed to coach them.
But that ain't it with Moyes. Apparently, he's got final say in every player. So he wants the old-fashioned way, doesn't he?
Well, but this will be a dilemma. Is realistically where. I can see where you can probably then go. I could then probably talk me away when, well, even if you win the trophy, you go, because of he will have, if Rice leaves, you get that money in the bank. If there's another 100 million to spend, he's only got 1 year left on his contract. How can you allow a bloke to sign players on 3 5-year contracts when he's only got 1 year?
When he's only got 1 year left himself, yeah.
You know, as a club, that to me says, "Ooh, that ain't good, is it? Come and sign it. I'll give you a 3-year contract. Well, you've only got a year. How long are you going to be here? What if a new man? You know, players are going to be going. Well, what if a new manager comes in and he don't like me?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so the mad thing about it is that he could get a new contract if he wins the trophy.
Isn't that gonna just you know, the fan base is just going to go
Yeah,
apoplectic. Isn't it?
Personally speaking, I don't think Moyes has got a long-term future with this club.
Right.
I think I think he has run his course. The only thing that saves him is winning that cup. And if
Is
he
the
wins the
European
cup,
trophy.
yeah, then we've got to sail the ship into the storm and see where it goes.
So would you say then, if he wins the trophy, could he walk away with his head held high?
Yeah, he could. No, and this, you know, he could do that because what's happened is that before he came to West Ham, he was shot to pieces. His
Yeah.
reputation at Man
Yeah.
United got
Someone said
tarnished.
that a minute
His,
ago. Yeah.
his reputation at Sunderland got destroyed. He rescued himself, but here's the thing: he rescued himself with his first 6 months at West Ham. Who then gave him a job? No one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No one.
And Lee's saying the same thing. Do we owe him anything? No one would have touched him before. Failures at Man United, etc.
Look. The only thing is, and this is the thing: if by winning it, we're still playing Europe. 3 seasons in Europe is on Moyes. No, well, I'm not
Whether
talking.
you like it or not, it is.
Whether you like it or not, it's on him, and therefore I think he's earned the right to go into next season. And you know,
And
we'll
that'll
have
be
to
his last
see.
season anyway. He probably won't
Well,
get an extension after that.
well, you don't know, do you? Because nobody
Well,
knows.
when we win the Europa League and then go into Champions League the following season.
Look, you people know I love to look back. I've looked at Moyes' career at Everton. did well, did okay, fell back to the point where they finished 17th, nearly
Yeah,
went
they
down.
almost got relegated. Yeah.
Never then spent another 7 years at Everton and never finished below 11th.
Yeah.
So, you know, what if there's a lot of what ifs, you know? And as I say to people, you know, John Lyle's the greatest West Ham manager for me in the club's history, even greater than Ron Greenwood. But that man relegated us twice. And if social media are about, I don't think he would have survived to 1980 and win the FA Cup because he took over a team. He took over a team in the 70s that had just won the cup, took them to the European final, nearly got relegated in getting us to the European final. And then we struggled before finally being relegated. Well, well, you say that.
Almost.
That what happened is as the European, well, yeah, because what happened is West Ham's form, funnily enough, in 75, 76, completely nosedived, where I think our last 3 victories were all European games.
Yeah.
Funny enough, when we won those tournaments, we were getting beat away from home, but winning at home. You know, David Moyes, whatever you say, pub teams, I don't care. These are half decent things. To win, what is it, 11 out of 12 games? That's still some doing. That's still some doing.
Yeah, agreed. Matt asking you a question. Rodgers or Potter, or neither? Let's say for argument's sake.
I can answer that straight away. Yeah, Potter did nothing at Chelsea for me, and De Zerbi, in doing what he's done at Brighton, says to me it was more about Brighton's system and way of working than it was about Potter's coaching.
I've said the same thing.
So all day long.
Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers for me. I feel I don't think he's tarnished, even though I said earlier I can laugh these people crying for Rodgers when they moan about Moyes and the relegation football. Well, he's just done that at Leicester, and Leicester fans wanted him out. Remember, they were baying for his blood a lot earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But all day long, I think he's been shortchanged by the Leicester ownership. No players could be brought in, everything, money, something. The best players, you know, losing Kasper Schmeichel, everything. I think they would. I mean, come on. It's one thing to get rid of Brendan Rodgers. It's another thing to bring in Dean Smith. Come on. Fucking hell.
Well, yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to go on to the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then the game against, I mean, I said at the beginning of the month that this was the toughest month. This was a make or break month for us. We're halfway through. We're just over halfway through now. And it ain't been that bad. One defeat in April. You know, we've had draws or wins, one defeat in April, which was obviously the 5-1.
Yeah.
Bournemouth at the weekend. They're doing really well.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on them?
Well, it's been a surprise. It has been a surprise. You know, they Scott Parker brings them up. Gary O'Neill is on the coaching staff and gets given the job temporarily, gets a few wins, and then gets given the job. You know, they back in. But who really thought, you know, or that Bournemouth would be where they are? And you got to look at it as well. Is, you know, they were unlucky not to beat Arsenal. They were 2-0 up at Arsenal, and Arsenal nicked it right at the end.
By the way, Arsenal drew again tonight.
Yeah, 3-3. This time they've not thrown away a 2-goal lead. They've recovered it in injury time. Walcott scoring at the Emirates. Who wondered what it would take? Dear, oh dear. So it's I'll tell you, there's nothing worse in an office than an arrogant West Ham fan when everybody else is losing around them. Because
I've done it.
I was like fucking cocksure this morning.
What's even better is when you've got Spurs fans in the office.
Oh no, I got Spurs fan. Listen, I walked in I even, because it was Bobby Moore Day, I paid a £5 and wore my Iron Maiden West Ham shirt into the office. Nobody else. And you're not allowed to wear football shirts. And like, it's Bobby Moore Day, pay a £5. And I showed them I'd paid the £5. There you go. I can sit there in front of you, like, talk about European, you know, because I go, European football. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to upset you all, because I know, obviously, European football is not for everyone, people. I think it'd be fantastic if Man City win the Champions League and we can win the Europa, the Conference League.
I think so. I think that'd be great. I think it'd be good for English football, definitely.
But
not that
Bournemouth, I think, tough game. Yeah, I'm always happy with an away point. You know, I could fancy a win. To be fair,
it's doable, isn't it? I mean, it should be. And then what I think will be our season saver is that we're going to beat Liverpool on Wednesday, aren't we?
Well, Liverpool are not playing
one
well away from home. You know, it's not. You know, worse West Ham teams, believe it or not, has beaten better Liverpool teams at home.
Yeah.
So,
we were unlucky not to win, not to get anything out of the.
The mad thing is that I look at, if you go back to that, it was a long time ago. I don't know if it was September or October time. We lost 1-0 away. For the last 20 minutes, he actually had Scamacca and Antonio up front together, and we absolutely battered Liverpool 4-4-2. And this is where I do get baffled, because I can look back at that game thinking, and he never done it again.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, did you not see how?
But we're going back to this again, aren't we? We're going back to that conundrum, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's like,
but it all interlinks, isn't it? It's a frustration, and it's a frustration in the fan base. You know, it's that old, I don't know, it was Einstein thing. You know, the madness is doing the same thing consecutively and expecting a different result. And this is what he does. He keeps doing the same thing. Even his substitution, he doesn't really change the setup, just the personnel. Yeah. Well, but actually, sometimes it's the setup that's not working, not the personnel.
Yeah, just change it around. But this is what he gets accused of: no plan B, etc., etc. Yeah. You know, so I mean, when it comes to Bournemouth, you reckon I reckon we can get a win.
We'll get something.
I think we'll get something from that, and then.
But it's the beauty of West Ham, because we'll probably get beat,
and then beat Liverpool.
Yeah.
Are we safe? Will we? No. Let me rephrase. Will we be safe?
Yes.
from the drop.
Yes.
Because we only really need what? I still think we need 2 more wins just to be 100%.
Yeah. I did that 22-point prediction from the last 12 games.
Yes, I recall, and you got an awful lot of stick for that.
Yeah, well, ho, people. Still early days, yes. But my points tally is looking rather good because I predicted that we would get 7 points from the first 4 games. And from the first 4 games of my prediction, we achieved 7 points. Now, obviously, I'm relying on us beating Bournemouth and getting a point against Liverpool and then beating. So,
Palace.
by my theory, we will now achieve 7 points in the coming week.
So really, in the next 3 games, we could secure our Premier League status.
Yes. And then we go into Europe competition again.
Feeling
Actually, I don't think we do. I think then after Palace, we've got Man City away.
And Man United at home.
Then Man United at home. Another point there. It could be 3. But I think I'll put us down for a point. And
I mean, for me, like we're on what 31 points. If we win on Sunday, that's 34. Let's say we get a point against Liverpool, 35, and let's say we can get 3 points at Palace. We've done it before, apart from when Antonio decides to pass it back to the keeper and they score in the last minute.
Yeah,
we can.
A bare minimum for me actually is 42 points.
Yeah, you see, when you go over 40, I get nervous. For me, I'm looking at 38, 39.
Well, no, I just think that for me, West Ham, bare minimum, 42 points. And the reason for that is because that's what we went down with. So Glenn Roeder is viewed as one of the worst West Ham managers in history. He had 2 and 3 games as managed, 2 seasons and 3 games as manager of West Ham. And yet, his first season with us, we finished 7th after nearly being relegated the year before. He brought in some good signings, Hutchinson. He brought in David James. So, if you look at his average points,
we lost you for a second there.
All right, I'm saying, if you look at his average points-wise, Roeder weren't that bad. There were worse managers that didn't go down, but because we got relegated, we'd have got relegated with 44 points that year because of goal difference.
Cockney's got a point. He says he doesn't think we're hitting form. He's suggesting we were iffy against Fulham. I'd say it was a scrappy win. Southampton, scrappy win. Only got a draw to a shaky Arsenal. I don't know. Going 2-0 down and then coming back fighting and getting a point there. We're riding our luck, and that's all Cockney reckons. Maybe I've got my West Ham tinted glasses on, but I think we're doing a bit more than riding our luck. But I don't know.
I ain't gonna. Tell me, are you? What's your feeling on Moyes? Because that's what I'd want to know.
Are you talking to Cockney or are you talking to me?
Yeah, to Cockney. No, to Cockney.
I think I know his feeling on Moyes. I think he's definitely a Moyes out.
Yeah. So therefore, they're going to look at it from that way. I'm not sitting there, and this is the thing. For some people, if you're not Moyes out, you're Moyes in. Well, actually, no, there ain't. There is ambivalent, as I like to call it, i.e., I'm on record often saying I don't like sacking managers during the season. I prefer to sack managers for failure, and failure is relegation. And while that is, people could say you're gambling and whatever, maybe it is whatever, but that's just the way personally I do it. So I'm not a fan of sacking him. But as I've said earlier, has Moyes got a long-term future? No, he ain't.
One more season for him?
Well, but everybody's a capable of redemption. Yeah?
Yes. As we said earlier in the show,
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of people that won't want that.
I'm not going to sit here and say to people, "Oh, change your mind." If your Moyes out and he does this, you got to change your mind, because that'd be a bit critical of me. Because Allardyce, you could have won the FA. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'd have done. And this is the beauty of it. People go, "What would you have done if Allardyce won the FA Cup?" Well, he fucking didn't, did he? So I don't have to worry about that. So.
Gareth says it's kind of funny if big teams are scrappy and win, it's a sign of a good team. But when we win and are scrappy, we're rubbish.
I mean, there is certain things that I read, and in there further at the show, like how much they want Moyes out, and they complain about the wins, and you think, listen, I get it. Goals are fun. Football's we should be entertained at football. And this may seem snobbish, yeah, especially those that are paying to sit there. And I know people at home have paid for Sky. Well, believe it or not, we're real mugs. We've paid for it, and yet we still pay more and go and watch it. Yeah, so we could sit at home and watch it, but we're not. We're stupid. We go and pay more money.
And the piss and
with the piss lager that they charge us double piss tank money for.
Oh, I found a good place. I'll let you know after the show.
Where that beer was fucking off yesterday in the ground.
I don't drink
the beer so bad I could only have 1 pint. I'm telling you, I was like, oh.
All right, let's finish off. So we're going for Premier League safety, and European glory.
Yeah,
we got to win it, haven't we? We. I mean, it is there. It's there for us to lose.
We're in another semi-final. Yeah. So and the good thing is that those players suffered heartache last season.
Yeah, they'll know what it's like now.
So now they know what that feels like. And sometimes don't do it. We don't want that again. That actually, if we can play like we did against Frankfurt, against Alkmaar, I think we beat Alkmaar.
Yeah.
But I would hope we play better than we did, because at the end of the day, we played really well against Frankfurt at home. Yeah. And Frankfurt are a top side in Germany. Alkmaar, yes, they're doing well, but Gent are doing well in the Belgium league.
But Gent are going for Champions League.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And look what we've shown them. And the only thing is playing this horrible playing at home first, because unless you go out and win 3 or 4-0.
But we did it against Lyon.
No, we did. We did.
It's doable.
Yeah.
It's absolutely doable. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, mate. Last words before we go.
Look, this season's still capable of going down in history. As
this is the irony.
No, it is. It is the irony.
It is the irony.
Just a bit of positivity. You don't have to like the manager. Just back the team. Just back the people in the shirt, just for the rest of the season, and then let the washing machine sort itself out.
Cheers. Always a pleasure, because it always goes off on a tangent. What are you looking at? What comment?
I don't know. I've just not read any because I ain't had my glasses on at all.
Okay. So. Well, let's read a few before we go. As supporters, not fans, but we are supporters, not fans. That's a big difference. That's another debate altogether, isn't it?
What's he saying? We are supporters.
We are supporters and not fans. That's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, well, that's a discussion that can have many.
That can go on.
Twists and turns. I mean, I don't get it. West Ham have set up an official Twitter account for the United States.
All right. Didn't know that.
You're thinking, why do they need a special one? Can they not just follow the same one as us?
Why have they done it?
You tell me. Is our American fan base not big enough already? sometimes this club, I don't know.
Baffles us.
Yeah, it baffles me. You know, it does. It just.
Are you going on Sunday?
No, funny enough, I did.
Did Sean get lucky in the ballot?
No. He nowhere near. I possibly could have got lucky in a ballot and turned it down.
Why?
So,
mind you, it's a long journey. It's going to take me 3.5 hours to get there.
Yeah, it's not. I've just, we got Tuesday night. We had Thursday night, Tuesday night. I may try and go Palace. I'm definitely going Brentford. We got more European football. I've applied in the ballot for Prague tickets.
Yeah, I did that today. Yeah, if people don't know, you can go on the Europa.
Well, I was already registered on the Europa website, which was quite lucky.
I'd forgotten I did it for last year.
Yeah, so that was good. Then if I get lucky in the ballot, I've got to somehow find how you can get a passport done.
I'll let you know later.
In a day, because
I hope Nicola ain't watching.
Because they were laughing at work when I said I'd like applied in the ballot, so I may need to book some time off in June. And one of the women went, "Well, you better sort your passport out." Because I had to have a DBS check, and it failed the DBS check because my passport was out of date. So I uploaded the details, and they refused it on the fact that it was out of date. So yes. Ooh.
Mark, 5,000 in the final is actually good, to be honest, because
but
the
ballot on UEFA is not for that 5,000.
It's not. It's separate.
It's for the 13,000.
It's only an 18,000 capacity, so getting 5,000 is actually, funnily enough.
I know someone that has already got a ticket.
Oh, really?
For the final, yeah. Corporate.
Oh, how?
Corporate.
Oh, of course.
Bought it.
Of course.
Gone to UEFA and bought corporate.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So, mate, the funny thing is, when he's told me whatever and what he's paid for it, you actually think, well, I could see the tickets going for more than the price that he bought corporate.
Well, I know someone who's corporate for West Ham, and funnily, people think that corporates get tickets free. They don't. They've got to pay for them. And they pay for them, same as everybody else. But yes, they do get offered a few tickets, But I guess if you're paying 50 grand a year for a box, or 25 grand a year or whatever, I'm guessing you're expecting one or two.
I think it's a damn sight more than 25 grand a year for a box. I think you'll find it's a damn sight more than 50 grand a year for a box.
Could be.
Boxes, I'm under the impression, because there was only 16 of them, would go for like 80 to 100 grand a year for the box.
You're not going to be begrudged an away ticket or two, are you? Or do you think it's wrong?
Look, at the end of the day, they're West Ham fans with a season ticket, so I would expect them to go through the same process, that everybody else has to.
Fair enough.
I don't even know what the time is. What's the time? I mean, we got 8 minutes, So, I mean, getting away tickets is properly is getting harder and harder.
It is. It's interesting, actually. Now that you brought that up,
I've got 30 points, and that would be lucky to get me to any away game coming up, without me having to play the game as such. So, for whatever reason, as shocking as West Ham has been, getting away tickets is getting harder and harder.
It is getting harder. You're absolutely right. And it's interesting because for the quarterfinal, the Gent game, they changed the process, because I'm sure there's an away season ticket scheme.
Yes. Yeah.
And they changed it where it was going to go on points only, rather than and this is the conundrum, because away season ticket holders will say, well, I'm on the away season ticket scheme for a reason, to get an away ticket.
Mm.
And then there's people who go, and so what happens with some away season ticket holders, they won't buy every ticket, and they might have only, I don't know, 40 points or something like that. And then when it came to the Gent game, where it started off on 60 whatever, they said, no, we're going to do it on points. So everyone that had 60 odd points who weren't away season ticket holders obviously got a ticket above the away season ticket holders. So who deserves it more?
Well, and
Those
this
who have
is for
accumulated-
me now. Someone who actually achieved a ticketing thing from West Ham in actually, I managed to get the ballot rather being a straight 10%. That actually the ballot, rightly or wrongly, got scaled down. So for Bournemouth, where there's only 900 tickets for Bournemouth.
There was 1,300 this year.
1,300 this year. Well, so
year,
therefore, rather than 10% going to ballot, I think that would have been scaled to 5%.
Interestingly, I don't think it even went to ballot. I think there's certain.
No,
there's
yeah.
certain
I thought when I was part of I came up with this idea to scale the ballot down.
And you're right, it did get scaled down.
And
definitely.
So because basically, yes, the ballot is there to help those without points, but but that's good for when there's 3,000 tickets. Yeah, when there's less than 1,000, that's hard on those, especially when you consider there's like 700 away season ticket holders.
That's it.
Throw in the bond holders.
The bond holders on top.
Yeah, then there needs to be a conversation about how ticketing is done now. I can get how we've got to this situation. We've took a fan base that had predominantly, on average, 21 to 22,000 season ticket holders while they were at Upton Park. Yes, the last season we had 26,000. That was a sellout because it was the last season. The seasons before that, it was 21, 22,000 season ticket holders. So therefore, your away base was coming out of that generally.
Exactly.
We've took that model, took it up to 50,000 season ticket holders. So we've over doubled that from our traditional amount.
Yeah.
These people obviously become regular West Ham fans now, want to go to away games now. The social media and the fact that being a away fan is broadcast as being, whatever, dress you up, true fan. I'm a true fan. I'll go away. I've got a big forehead and I'll go every away game and everything. Yeah, these people, we all know who they are. So, and then people, but rightly, we all know away days are the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you get beat 4-0, it's still fucking better than watching shit at the London Stadium.
Yeah.
So it's still a good day out. We all love the away days. More people now going up the smaller pot.
Yeah.
Now, when you take it, even 3,000, if there's with the European games, I actually think what they should now doing, if Europe's going to be regular, and this is the thing, yes, it's new. Being in Europe is new to West Ham. So they're not going to get it right. But what I would then look at it, if we qualify next season, is actually say, right, you got your home season ticket, you got your away season ticket. For away in Europe, it would be done on away European points.
Yeah. Or a cup scheme.
So
other clubs do cup schemes.
Well,
which
you
include,
say what I'm saying is that, but it's not that. It's that you had a situation, I think, last season where there were people that went Zagreb. There were people that went a few of the other games. Oh, the names escape me. Who did we have?
Like Seville, Genk. Leon.
We had Genk. But then they went to them early games.
Yeah.
And yet when it came to going to Frankfurt, couldn't get a ticket.
Couldn't get tickets, yeah.
Because nobody wanted to go to the early games. So the people that went, because the early games, the point system fell all the way to the bottom.
It did.
So there
It
were
did.
people that went to
And the
these
same thing
away
happened
games.
this season when we had Viborg and
That's what I'm saying.
Silkeborg
So
and,
actually, why weren't these people? And so therefore, I would separate Europe into a separate point scheme.
good point.
Actually, European points. So you go to the first European game, you get a European point. That gives you in front for the second European game. That goes for the third European game.
Yeah,
And it's
agreed.
done that
good
way.
point. Good point. Yeah.
Because
That's on I guess that was never thought of because, as you said, we never thought we were going to get into Europe, and certainly not going to get into Europe 3 seasons in a row.
No, so you know, if by hook or by crook we win the thing and whatever, I do think this is where a strong fans committee would work, you know. But that's a totally different show separately, a fans committee. But this is where we are let down by the fact that we ain't got a strong fans committee, that the club can ride rod shot. Personally, I know me and you differ. I would every fan should throw their weight behind Hammers United. Get behind Hammers United.
No, I remember saying that to you. You know, when they first started off,
and pressure the club into fucking all the other shite groups off. Yeah, who are there for themselves and not for the fans, because Hammers United are the only true people.
As we've said before,
the whole fan base.
As we said before, Brady knows how to divide and rule.
And conquer.
And while she continues to sort of like, you know, make the odd faction here and there happy, they will never walk away from that. And I agree with you on that. And I've said this to you before. Hammers United, for me, they just haven't played their cards right. You know, I just think they could have gone about all this thing differently.
I don't know.
They would have been.
Look, I think they've got by far they're the biggest. They've got the numbers. Yeah. Well, you know, they've got more numbers than any other group's ever done. Yeah. And then they've taken that, and the responsibility of that, is then taken. So therefore, they go into the system. Now, unfortunately, because of the way the construct of the supporters committee was done, which, bearing in mind, was supposed to have been organised by the fans. It was done with the Football Supporters Association, who I think secretly have got into bed with the bloody West Ham Supporters Trust mob. All to do with white paper bollocks and all that. That actually, it's got to a point where there's like a stalemate, where there's a group with like definitely 15,000 members can be outvoted by groups with 500 members, 400 members, and 200 members.
Which ain't right.
So here's a group with 15,000 members who are losing out to groups that can't even muster 1,000 members.
Nah. Yeah, no, I agree. It ain't right.
Sorry.
And then that scuppers any sort of thinking and decision making on things like
But
tickets.
That's how the club do it, because what they do is they get these clubs, you know, has Hammers United ever appeared in the programme?
No, and it never will.
I tell you what, though, some of the other group, I nearly named them.
Well, you did.
Well, some of the other groups,
are in there,
are regularly appearing in the bloody programme.
I know that.
Pat your head. Behave yourselves.
Well, this is it.
We'll look
after this is what Brady's good at. You know, she. You know, you may hate the woman, but
but I've done that system, innit? You know, so I did it for 5-6 years. Yeah, I did that system. I knew it wouldn't work. I knew it was broken. I knew something had to change. You know, and yet here we are.
P-Cads wants to bring hooligans back and fight it all out. That'll sort it out. Right, we did another 10 minutes when we were saying goodbye.
Yeah,
Nigel, I'll see you.
Mate.
I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm going down there on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then
I'm
Saturday.
not there Wednesday.
You're not there Wednesday.
No, it was one of them where I could do one night, I couldn't do two, and frankly, cup final all day long. Support the kids.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'll bump into you then on the way there. Well, we can meet the ballot winner for the ballot that never was as well.
It was
Cheers, Nigel. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all your comments. Sorry I couldn't read them all out, but I put as many up as I could. So thank you for that as well. See you soon.
you in a couple of weeks.
See, yeah, we're back in. Yeah, we are gonna try and commit. Sometimes other things take over, but we're gonna try and commit.
The idea is it's every 2 weeks, people. Just so you know. So don't come back here next Friday. You're gonna have to watch Craggy Island. Love ya.
See you later.